morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
Today is gonna be that day. Gonna have things go my way. Embroidering fashion that sells. Using all my knowledge, I will excel. Stitch by stitch, let color shine bright. Turning a blank canvas into art feels right. Time is flying by and this is my art. With embroidery machines, I'm doing my part. I search the web for a magical design. Looking high and low as I sip on my wine. Metallic thread, watch it shimmer and shine. I transform my blanks into a one-of-a-kind. Stitch by stitch, let color shine bright. Turning a blank canvas into art feels right. Time is flying by and this is my art. With embroidery machines, I'm doing my part. Hook it up if you wanna embroider. Got the right tension, got my colors in order. Please no thread breaks, no time for rest. So much to do, I'll give it my best. Stitch by stitch, let color shine bright. Turning a blank canvas into art feels right. Time is flying by and this is my art. With embroidery machines, I'm doing my part.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. So we've got tons of people tuning in from all over the place, and we're going to say a quick hello. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with Gifts HQ, and I host these daily sessions to just talk about everything crafting because, you know, why not? We love to craft. We do all kinds of things from sewing, quilting, and just so much more. And we like to share all kinds of tips, tricks, and ideas. So if you have a little Etsy shop, or maybe you have a little craft fair coming up, or if you're just looking for a quick little gift, this is the perfect place for that. Put your name in the chat, say hello. We have a really welcoming community out there, and we like to share all kinds of ideas, and we may be able to help you out with you're stuck in a little situation and not sure what to do. So go ahead and pop yourself in there and say hello. Alrighty, we've got people from all over the place. Oh, yay, Barbara, I need some inspiration to get your Sojo back. Well, you're definitely in the right place because we're going to do that for you today. We're going to make sure that you're going to get yourself back into that sewing room and make yourself a little project. All right, so we've got, oh boy, people from Southern Missouri. Good morning. Good morning, Nancy. And good morning to you. Don't you have a lovely name? All right, we've got my neighbor here from Miami as well. Good morning to you, Rebecca. We've got Leslie B from Virginia. We've got all kinds of people. Hey, Renee, good morning. Good morning to Julie from California. Awesome. Connie, hello, good morning. We've got all kinds of people here. It's really amazing. Good morning to Robin. Good morning, Sashi, Jenny, Faker McFake. Gosh, not sure if Lisa, who else did I miss? Barbara, Becky, Cindy, Connie. Good morning, and hello to everyone out there. Awesome. Okay. Oh, Cindy Ball says, Nancy, Jeanette, and Mom. Yes, all three of us, my sister and my mom. Kathy Stripes is a brother educator, is going to be at Fredericksburg, Virginia quilt show. Oh, y'all must stop and see her. Well, I certainly will. I've got her on my list now. Definitely will be visiting the brother booth because, you know, I want to check out some of the new Avenir. Of course, I like to see if I can sit and play with it, and just all the machines that they have are really awesome. Hey, Roz, how you doing? Good morning. And Sue, good morning to you. All righty. Yay, Australia. Awesome. Let's see, Alabama. We've got JBL. Good morning to you too. All right, I think that we are ready to go. So first thing that we like to do, in case you're new here, we like to grab our favorite little drink. So I know everyone has a favorite little drink in the morning, and there's no judgment here. Coffee, tea, soda, water, whatever it is that you have in the morning. Go ahead and raise your glass. And if you don't have anything to drink, I'll go ahead and pour you a cup, and go ahead and raise those glasses because we're going to have a fantastic day. And we're going to get Barb's little sojo back in place there. And anyone else who's missing their little sojo there, let's go ahead and raise those glasses and give it a toast because we're going to have a fantastic day. And we're just gonna love it. So to all of our little sewing peeps out there, raise your glasses because we're gonna have a great day today. Alrighty, let's take our little sip here. Okay, well, good morning from Wisconsin. Hey, Marge, how are you? Thanks for joining. And I see my sister is on Boricua Sewing and Crafts. She needs a cup of coffee and a bagel. Bagel sounds pretty good, huh? Alrighty, let us know what you're drinking. Water, room temperature. Good for you, Cindy. Awesome. Yay. Always good to get that cup of water. It's very good for you. First thing in the morning, have a cup of water, and then you can have anything you want after that. Good morning, Heather from Michigan. Awesome. Oh, you're Simple Sisters on Etsy. Oh, I didn't know that, Heather. I'm going to have to check you out. Awesome. Guys, we've got someone with an Etsy shop, so check her out and support her as well, please. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, don't forget your cream cheese. Yes, I won't forget the cream cheese. Yeah, we've got a lot of different types of cream cheese, though. Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to be starting a new project, so that's always exciting to do. And of course, it's a Christmas project because, you know, we're right around that time and we want to get it done before Christmas. So I've got to get my last minute Christmas stuff in, at least the stuff that's going to take a while, get that started and get that going. So that's what we're going to kind of be talking today. But oh yes, okay, I know you guys want to get your snacks, so let's head on over. We're going to do our food truck. Let's go get our snacks so that we can get ready to go. Here comes our food truck, guys. All kinds of stuff on the food truck. You can have anything you want. Go ahead and get your bagels. I know my sister wanted her bagels, so oh, Sandy needs a double shot of espresso today. Well, don't worry, food truck will have that for you too. Got some kale and carrots. We might go for the healthy stuff today. You know, you've got a little shake there. You can do all kinds of stuff in that little truck. They've got everything you want, no calories. So go ahead and grab your snacks, grab your favorite drink, and hopefully you're in your nice little cozy spot, or at least someplace safe where you can watch. And hopefully you can interact with me. If you're watching on the TV, go ahead and hit the channel up button because that'll give us a like. So I'd appreciate if anybody out there can go ahead and hit the like button for me, because that really helps out the channel. So don't forget to do that today. Oh, yummy. I see lots of really good stuff. Cinnamon buns, yum. Yay. Food truck, blueberry biscuits. Oh, nice. Oh, blueberry oatmeal, Kodiak blueberry oatmeal. Tea with honey and lemon. Oh, nice. Nice. Okay. Okay, guys, we got to get started. We've got all our snacks and all our drinks, and we're ready to go. Like I said, we're going to be talking about a brand new pattern today. And before we get into that, we're going to get into our crafting news in just a bit. But what I'm going to be doing is showing you the fabrics that I've selected for that pattern. We're just going to kind of go through that pattern. This pattern, I really believe, is more of a beginner friendly. I think it's got a couple of really simple techniques, and it looks like it's going to get put together pretty quickly. So I'm going to see how quick we are going to get through this pattern, but I think it's going to be one of those ones that are going to go pretty quick, which means that if it doesn't take that much time, you may consider making multiples of it to give as gifts. Maybe you want to sell it, you know, things like that, because they're pretty quick. But we'll go through all of that. And guys, you know, today is hump day. So it is that Wednesday, and we're going to finish this up, I'm hoping, this week, at least getting all the cutting and maybe most of the sewing done. That's how quick I think this project is going to go. And we're going to try to do our best to get there. So let's see what we can do to make that happen. All right, so first things first, we got to get over to our crafting news. So let's see what's going on out there in the world today. So we're gonna head over to Austin, Minnesota at the Keepsake Quilters Guild, and they're already in the Christmas spirit, guys, even though it's only September. So this year they joined the National Stockings for Soldiers program for the very first time. And the guild started sewing stockings back in April, and after learning about the project at a quilting retreat, their members have been busy stitching away, and they've already finished about 78 stockings, with hopes to top over 100 by October the 1st. So they are just stitching away there. Now, the stockings will be shipped to Delaware, where each one will be decorated with a soldier's name and filled with goodies and sent to the troops who can't be home for the holidays. Isn't that really amazing? Now, this quilt guild has been spreading kindness since 1996, and they are donating quilts to places like the Salvation Army, veterans groups, and children's charity. And now with this project, they're making sure that the soldiers, of course, get a little love and comfort from home. So I thought that was pretty neat to share there. And then we're going to go over to Everett, Washington, where this is a truly amazing 9-year-old girl who turned her summer boredom into a booming business with her sewing machine. Her name is Elsie Lewis, and she, instead of sitting around at home for the summer, she stitched up reversible tote bags, cozy rice bags, and so much more. She sold them all at her local farmer's market and even at a little pop-up shop that she did in front of her home. And altogether, her little business earned nearly $400, but she didn't just spend it. She's a true entrepreneur. She set aside 20% in savings and treated herself to a huge Lego set, and then kind of kept the rest for just, you know, pocket money. So that's really, really neat. I really love how someone so young is starting to kind of take shape and look at, you know, what she can do with her time and earn herself, you know, a little bit of money. I think that's really nice. Now, she learned to sew from her grandmother when her grandmother was visiting her grandmother in Kentucky, and her grandmother later gifted her a lavender colored Janome sewing machine for Christmas, and then she just kind of took off after that, making all kinds of projects. So I thought that was pretty good. And she, her mom helps her out, and she runs a mobile barbering business, and that inspired her to sew again. So it's really amazing how things just kind of happen, and they kind of, you know, evolve into something different, and then family members kind of join in. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what I've got for you for crafty news. So now let's move over to our project, shall we? Because we've got a lot to cover on here. Now, there's two different options. And guys, this is another free pattern that you can download. Okay, the pattern is called Charming Christmas. And I've got two versions for you. So there is the Charming Christmas pattern, which is right here. It's something that you can download from the Fat Quarter shop, and this will use 2 charm packs of 5-inch squares along with some background fabric that you can probably just get from your stash, right? Now the link is in the video description, but I want to let you know that there's 2 versions of this available. So this is the Charming Christmas Quilt pattern, but we also have, and I'm not going to be doing this one, but you can do this as an option. They have the mini Charming Christmas Quilt pattern, and this is using 2 mini charm packs that you can get from the Fat Quarter shop. So it's 2 different options that they give you. I'm not going to be doing the mini one. I'm going to be doing just the regular one with the 2 5-inch charm packs. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to be focusing on. But when you go to download it, it shows you the 2 options, so you could pick either one. It's the exact same design. It's just one is a mini that finishes at 26.5 inches squared, and then you have the regular one that finishes at 59.5 inches. So all up to you on what you can do. You can do the mini, but I opted to just go with the charm pack size, which is the 5-inch square. So I thought that was pretty neat. Oh, Kat is saying, I'm about to make my first quilt. Oh, awesome. Table runner, so neat inspiration. I got the material. Oh, awesome. Kat, you're from the UK, and I think mind the gap. Go ahead. Awesome. That's awesome. You're making your very first quilt. Yay! Got it, guys. Give her a little congratulations and encouragement there. You're gonna do fantastic. I think it's gonna be awesome. And let us know as you go along if you have any questions or you get stuck. We're here to help you out, and show us some pictures of your quilt as you move along. And we're in the Facebook group, and you can just share your pictures or your progress and stuff on there, because that's really amazing. We have a lot of fun with that. Okay, so really amazing to know that. I'm so happy for you. Okay, so this is the pattern that we're working on. So if you look at the fabric requirements, it requires 2 charm packs. That is 2 5-inch squares, because it's going to need, let me see if they tell you, it's 2 charm packed, or if you're cutting out the 5-inch squares yourself, you're going to need 68 squares. So I have opted to go with Hometown Holiday, and this is the pack that I was waiting for it to come in. So I couldn't start this on Monday because I hadn't received it yet, and so it finally came in. It's called Hometown Holiday, and I'm going to open it up and show you guys what this looks like. You can see here in the back, they do have a little bit of the squares. I'm just going to kind of take them out. We'll go through them really quickly and see what we've got here. So we've got some reds here going on, all holiday colors, which is pretty neat. I do like that. And guys, the pattern itself is going to resemble a Christmas tree in the middle, but it's kind of like a scrappy tree. So you want to have those Christmas colors. So this is the perfect opportunity to take out your reds and your greens, you know, all your Christmas thing here. Oh, I really love this one. I think that's adorable. You know, and so you've got all kinds of things. They're non-directional. You've got little gingerbread mans, you know, going opposite ways. So it doesn't matter where you put them. This one's really nice as well. And you can see here, we've got some really nice Christmas colors. Some of these have some words here. They're going opposite with some music notes. So you may want to kind of just look at some of these and just kind of decide, you know, what you're going to be doing, because you'll have to decide where you're going to place some of these. And so this is a nice little collection where you can have all different colors going around, and you don't want to kind of put the same old stuff. So that's the nice thing about the charm pack, is that you do have a nice variety within the same color group, you know, that you're kind of putting together. And it shows a nice little collection where if you are doing this, cutting out of your own scraps, like look at all the variety we have here. So it would take a lot for me to kind of pick through my stash. And I probably wouldn't have so much of variety, but you can also just do it a solid color, you know, just one color. You don't have to have a charm pack, you know, it's just make it different, make it your own, right? Here's another one with some little notes on here. I think that's pretty cool. Now, since this is a charm pack, I am not going to be starching this. We're just gonna go with it. This one's pretty neat. It's getting harder because it's towards the end. Oh, this is adorable. Love that one. So very, very nice. So we've got 2 of these to work with. And so these are all the ones that are included in that pack. And so again, you're going to need 2 of the charm packs, or if you're cutting them yourselves, you're going to need 68 squares. You're also going to need 2.5 yards of your background fabric. And for the background fabric, I was indecisive on 2 of them, but I think I made my selection last night. So when Joann's was closing, a lot of their fabrics were just really low price. And this was just one of the ones that I got the entire bolt. It's still in the plastic. I mean, the entire bolt. And I think I got this for like 10 bucks. And that's, you know, amazing. This one is Keepsake Calico. It is like a grayish tone. And I think it's really neat. It is a medium weight, and I'm trying to see if it has the name. No name here. It just says Quilter's Cotton, durable, medium weight, Calico, Keepsake Calico, and it's gray. And this is, let's see if you guys can see it. Even though it has a little shine of the plastic, you can see here what it looks like. I think it's really beautiful. But I wanted to resemble a little bit more of a snowflake type thing. So I was deciding between this one and another one, but I think I'm going to go with the other one. This one is a nice one. It's got that nice gray black background, but I think I'm going to hold this one off for a different project. And I'm going to kind of go with this one here. And this one is also Keepsake Calico. This one is... let's see. It's called Drift Away Metallic Blender Light Blue. And I just like that it kind of resembles a little bit of a snowflake type of look. It's got a little bit of that shine to it. So I'm going to go with this one in the background. So it kind of looks like a little snowflake going on behind the tree. So that's going to be my background fabric. Again, this was also purchased when they were going out of business. And so I did get the rest of what's on this bolt, which is pretty much a lot in here. So I was happy with that. So that's going to be my background fabric. And then again, my 2 charm packs. And that's all you need for this pattern, which I really like. So only 2 different fabrics. That's all you're going to need. And so when you're looking at the pattern itself, you see that your charm packs are going to kind of go all the way around here, and then they are going to be giving you that scrappy look for the tree, and then your background goes on the bottom. Okay, and then for your borders, you've got some more background going on here. And then you're going to have to decide what you want to do for your backing. So your backing could be the same, or you can try something just a little bit different. So, okay, let's see here what we're going to do now. And if I can clear this out of my way, I'm going to grab some of this stuff here, and we're going to start using the background fabric. We're going to go ahead and start cutting away some of the pieces that are required. So some of the cutting requirements here, a lot of it, if you look at it, when you are looking at the pattern, your cutting instructions here, everything is, you have to look at the quantity that you're doing, right? So 2 strips of something. So you have 12 strips of 5-inch squares, and 2 of this on the bottom here. What is that? 2 3/4 by 5. So a lot of it is by 5-inch by something, right? So we're going to cut a lot of 5 inches strips from my bolt here, and then I'm going to subcut to all of these other measurements here. And then you've got some cutting instructions that kind of continue here on the background fabric. Again, these are 5-inch by various different lengths. And then you've got your binding here. You're going to need 7 strips at 2.5 inches wide. So that's going to be all of your cutting. And then if you just kind of glance through the instructions, you kind of want to get an idea of what it is that you're going to be doing. So on some of these, it looks like we're going to be making half square triangles. But note on the instructions here, this is how they want you to make the half square triangles. Now, we've talked about half square triangles before, and there's like a whole bunch of different ways that you can make them, right? So this is something that you have to decide what method you want to use. So what they're suggesting here is that you draw a line on the wrong side of fabric G. That's going to be one of the 5-inch squares. And then with the right sides together, you're going to layer that with another fabric. They want you to draw that line and then stitch on the drawn line and trim away 1/4 inch from the seam. So basically, draw the line, sew on it, cut it, discard it. That's how they want you to do your half square triangle. And there's so many different ways to do that. So there's a number of ways, and I've got different options here. You've got your Creative Grids ruler that will help you to draw the line going across, right? So that is one option that you have, and I'm just going to grab a charm square just to kind of show you, right? These Creative Grid rulers are really awesome for those corner to corner options. And this is really what the ruler was kind of made for, because it's got these little tips here. You can see the little tip. It's a triangle here on the end. And so what that does is it allows you kind of to line it up to the edge of your square so that you know that you're on that point. And then it has these slits in the middle here that will allow you to see, to be able to make sure that you're on the other end and you're right up on that corner, right? So you can line it up perfectly, and then you're able to kind of draw the lines here. And that is where, you know, you're going to want to sew down the middle and cut on the ends. So it'll allow you to draw those 2 there. And then what you can do is line up your ruler on the line that you drew, and then go ahead and draw a third line, and that's the line that you're going to sew on. But it really gives you the opportunity to really line things up and see things before you do any cutting or sewing, making sure that you're getting it into the right position. And we'll kind of go through that as we move along. So that is the first option that you have to do that. Now, there are other rulers out there, other gadgets that will help you do this as well. So let's take a look at a different route, right? Another route that you have is just using your ordinary ruler, right? You can definitely just use the ordinary ruler, but here's where some issues can occur with that, right? So depending on the ruler that you have, if you look at the markings on your rulers here, some markings are a little bit wide and some are a little bit thin. You want to get the thinnest line possible because you want to be able to get the most accurate that you can, right? The thinnest line will give you the most accuracy. The thicker line gives it too much thickness and you can be off just that tiny hair, right? So you're wanting to work with a ruler that has the thinnest lines and will allow you to really see what you are doing. So depending on the fabric that you are working with, and I'll just kind of put this on top for right now, you want to try to kind of look at your cutting mat. Most cutting mats will have two different sides. They'll have a light side and a dark side. And people kind of pick their preference on whether they want the light or the dark. Most people will say, I want the dark because it won't look dirty. You know, other people like the lighter side. It really depends what you're working with. But when you're working with fabric and you're working on your cutting mat, this one can be a little distracting because you've got this square, but this square can also be very useful, right? Because sometimes if you have a light fabric and you're working on a light background, it makes it harder to see where that square really is unless you are immediately on top of it, looking down on it, which sometimes doesn't happen. And then if I move it to the darker background, well, now I can really see where that corner is, right? It's easily defined. You guys can see that on the camera versus if I have it over here, really, really difficult for you guys to see that corner. So you always want to have a contrasting color between your cutting mat and your fabric so you can really see where your corners are and where you need to line things up. So now where does the ruler come in? Well, now when you add the ruler to that and you're putting your lines on top of the corner, you want to make sure that you're lining up exactly on that corner for you to be able to draw the line. Well, things can kind of get in the way and sometimes you can't really see what's going on because you've got all these markings behind it. And I think that was the whole reason why they created this here, because you can really see right through and you can see your fabrics on both sides and then make that determination as to where this needs to be lined up so you can draw the line. So while you can use a ruler, it can be a little distracting. So you really need to take your time and really make sure that you line things up appropriately and make sure you're using the correct background on your cutting mat so that you can really see where those points are and draw your lines accurately. Okay, then we have some other tools that kind of help us out, and these are always fun to have. So you may or may not have this in your stash, but we've got some kind of specialty type rulers, right? And so these rulers are a lot of fun. I have some of mine marked up already because I've, used them in some prior projects, and I kind of just leave the painter's tape just to kind of demo and show exactly how I point things out. So they've got all kinds of rulers here. This is the Strapology squared mini ruler. There's tons of different Strapology rulers that are out there. These rulers all have slits on them. And so the slits that are on here will help you to make your cuts. And they have it on the full inch and they also have it on the 1/2 inch marks as well. And so you can see these go from, it starts here at 0, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches, and then this will go to the 1/4 inch, 3/4 of an inch, so on and so forth, all the way down. So it really helps you out to kind of see all of these numbers and see how you can make the cuts going across. So that really helps you out. Now I've got another one here. This is not a Creative Grids ruler, actually little kind of like a June Taylor type of ruler. And let me get this out of the way so it's kind of distracting there. So you can see here, this is called the Perfect Half Square and Quarter Square Triangles. And so this one also helps you out to give you the perfect half square triangle. So it's got two things on the edges here to help you to make that perfect line that you're trying to draw. So there's one way here where you will line up, and let me grab that 5 square. Basically what you would do is line up your charm pack, and I'm going to kind of do it backwards here so I can get into the camera and you guys can see that. You're basically going to line up this dark line right here, right on the corner, so corner to corner, and then it's got 2 slits here. And so that's where you would cut it. But you would do this after you've already sewn it. So when you've sewn this together, you're going to line up the line that you sewed right up on this line here and make the cut. And then you'll end up with two half squares right here. But before you do that, you're going to want to do this end here. And so this will allow you to line up the slit right here, corner to corner, and then you're going to be able to see, okay, this is here, this is where I'm going to cut, and this is where I'm going to sew. So I'm sorry, we'll start with this end, corner to corner. You can cut on these lines. What I've also seen people do as well is you can take a very thin pencil or marking tool that you have. As long as it is very thin, you can fit that within the slots and make your lines right here. So you've got that security that you have your corner lined up on both ends, and then you can take your marking tool and mark it on these slits right here. So you have your nice straight drawn lines. And then after you've drawn them and sewn on that line, you flip it over and you would cut it, because you'll be lining up that right here. And then you would just cut it right down the middle with the slot. So it makes things a little easier, nice and clean cuts to use these. And then once you're done with it, after you've already ironed it, you'll want to kind of just line it up. And then this will allow you to go ahead and look at the measurements, see what marking you want. So in this case, I believe it's the 5-inch. But you'll have to see where you'd have to make that cut, and you have all of the slots here. So again, this is the Perfect Half Square and Quarter Square Triangle. I believe this is by June Taylor. Yes, the Ruler Queen. Yes, I love my rulers. I have to tell you, I really love my rulers. So let me move it up this way. So here it is, Perfect Half Square and Quarter Square Triangles. And then you have the second one, and I'll move my little tape here so you guys can see the name. It's just Stripology Squared Mini Ruler. And so it has the full cuts, and then when you flip it over to the side, it's got the half cuts as well. Now, why do I put painter's tape all over this? Well, when you're making multiple cuts, you can easily kind of lose track because we've got distractions, right? Phone rings, doorbell, you know, some of you have dogs that are barking, you know, people calling that they need something or looking for something, and you get totally distracted and you take your eyes off the ruler and you can easily pick the wrong slot and make that cut incorrectly. So what I like to do when I'm doing my projects, because I know that I get interrupted all the time, I take some painter's tape And I will just take the painter's tape and I will look to see what cuts it is that I am doing. In this case, I know it's the 5-inch. So I know I'm going to be going 5-inch right here. And then over to the side, you have 5-inch. So this is what I'm going to be cutting, right? We've got our 0 mark down here. That is the 5-inch line. So I will go ahead and I will cover the other ones next to it so that I do not cut on here. And I will always look to cut on that last slot right here. And then you also can make some markings down here on the bottom just to kind of indicate, hey, it's the 5-inch mark and that's where you want to stay. So it seems kind of silly, but trust me, when you are getting interrupted a lot, this is the probably safest way, because sometimes when you're working with fabric and you don't have a lot of it, you know, you don't want to make that mistake and then cut it, and then there's no going back, right? Once you cut it, you cut it. So you want to make sure that you prevent that from happening. And so these are just my little tips of kind of marking the ruler that I'm going to be using so that I make sure that I do not cut on the wrong slot. And so I do that for a lot of rulers, and sometimes I just kind of keep them there, and when I get to the next project, if the tape is still good, when I take it off, it still has some stickiness to it, I'll just reuse it. Cindy says, do you have to use a smaller rotary cutter? I do not have any rulers with slots. For these, I have used both the 45-inch and I have used the 60-inch. There are some rulers out there that really prefer for you to use the 60-inch one, only because the slots themselves, you need to be able to get into the slot and make that cut. So this one here, I'm gonna just kind of demo from here. If I'm in this slot, you see, let me see if you guys can see that. You can see how deep it's going in. Now, you've got this middle part right here that's going to prevent it from going any further. So this is the only space that you have to cut. So if you're layering tons of fabric, maybe you're trying to cut like 5 layers at a time, you definitely will want to use the 60-inch. Because you're only going to have so much room to be able to make that cut. So a lot of them will recommend that you use the 60-inch millimeter cutter. But if you're just doing just the 1 layer or maybe 2, I think you can get away with the 45 as well. But for me, when I'm starting off with my projects, because I know I'm going to be doing a lot of long cuts with my long ruler, right, to kind of cut them out of the bolt, and then I'll be doing some subcuts. So I definitely will start with my 60 millimeter because I know I'm going to be doing the long cuts. That's going to help me out. And for that, I'm just going to use my long ruler. And I'll pull that one here. There's all kinds of ones out there on the market. This is a nice long ruler that you're going to use when you're cutting right off of the bolt. And of course, I'm going to use my magnets to help hold the ruler down as I make my cuts as well. That's going to help prevent the ruler from shifting. We've talked about that as well. There's all kinds of products out there to help you with the ruler shifting around like that. Cindy says, will you be able to go all the way to the end of the slot? Yes, and let me see if I can show you here what's happening here. The way they design these rulers, and a lot of them have these teardrops over in the end here. Let's see if you can see that. Can you see those teardrops? So those teardrops is where you kind of will wiggle your, and I know I'm doing it on the opposite end. Let me see if I can turn it here. You're going to wiggle your ruler right into that teardrop. The purpose of the teardrop is so that you can wiggle your way into that slot. And then once you're in that slot, you can see here on the end, right? We've got some wiggle room, And then you can see where the 0 starts, all the way up here, right? The 0 is here, not down here. So you have enough space to wiggle your rotary cutter in here, bring it up to this 0 slot, and that's where the cutting really begins. That's where the measurement starts. So then you will go all the way down to the end. This will cut up to 7 inches here. And then, whoops, here it is. Once you get to that end here, you're going to have another teardrop on this end. So you're already past where the maximum measurement is. So you will have a nice clean cut going across, and then they give you the additional space to kind of wiggle your rotary cutter in there into that slot. So that's where it kind of helps you to get yourself adjusted in there. And then you'll see the slit kind of narrows itself down, and you'll have a nice clean little cut right on here. Okay, so that's how that kind of works. And that works for both this ruler, the Creative Grids ruler, as well as the June Taylor one. They all have that little teardrop on the end. And you can see that that's where, you know, all the cuts will then begin on that solid line, because that's where the measurement starts. Okay, so I hope that helps out. All right, so that, let's see. Oh, Cindy says, oh, I get it now. The ruler is extended past. Yes, it's extended past where you start and where you finish. So that teardrop is giving you that little bit of wiggle so you to put that rotary cutter in there and then make that cut, right? So that the teardrop is larger for you to put it in there, and then it thins out so that you get that nice straight line going all the way across. And they've got other sizes that are out there. They have some really big ones out there that are more pricey. And, you know, you can go crazy with rulers. I know I have a little stash of rulers myself. I'm a little ruler junkie, I guess. But, you know, I just like to have the right ruler for the right projects, right? Because you don't want, if there's a way that you can do it easier, then I'm going to go with that. You know, if the ruler is made for half square triangles and my project is calling for half square triangles, I want to use the right ruler because it's going to get me the most precision possible. So always kind of go through your stash, look at your project. That's why I think it's so important to read through the pattern. See what they're doing. What kind of methods are they doing? Are we doing half square triangles? Are we doing flying geese? Are we doing stitch and flip? You know, there's so many different methods out there, and you want to read through them to get an idea of what it is you're going to be doing. And then you can kind of go through your stash and pull out the rulers that you think will be best for this project. And so that's why I like to kind of go through that and kind of see what's coming, so that I can prepare myself and get all of my items ready that I'm going to need to help me out. Oh, Quilting with Harriet says, I like rulers that have dual uses. Yes, yes, love those. You've got that June Taylor one. It is so helpful, thanks to you. Oh, awesome. Great. I'm glad to hear that, Flo. Yeah, they, you know, these rulers, some of them can be so helpful, you know. Sometimes just doing things with a straight ruler, you've got a lot of room for error when you're using. But if you're using a ruler that's specific to that task, it minimizes the risk. And so you can get a nice cleaner cut every single time. So that's why I like to kind of stick to some of these little specialty rulers and kind of look to see what's the right tool for the right job, right? You would do that for any other thing that you do in life, right? You're always looking for the right tool to get the job done. So why not, you know, kind of use that in your quilting world, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the items here. Let's set these over and put this charm square back in the pile. Okay, so definitely half square triangles. Looks like we're going to make 12 of those. Then it looks like we're going to be assembling some things over here, and it looks like we're going to have to sew things together and maintain that base shape. So little precision that you'll have to have there. And then if we flip over, it's pretty much the same thing throughout the project. So a lot of these things are just, you know, following things in line, making sure that you maintain the base shape here as you are stitching this along. And what I can not stress in every single project, I like to stress this out. Do not just kind of go through and look at the step that you're doing, do the step and move on. They are giving you measurements after you've already done the step. Take the time to measure it. It's going to make a world of difference when you start assembling the project together. So as you can see in this step here, it's telling you to assemble here and do these steps here to get this nice finished row right here. And you're going to make one of those. But it's telling you second row should measure 5 inches by 32 inches. Check to make sure that that measurement is correct when you are sewing them, because if it is not correct, guess what? The next row and the next row and the next row, they're all going to be tying all together. So if one measurement is off, the others can be off. So make sure that after you complete each step, and I think the Fat Quarter Shop does an excellent job of this, you know, after you finish each step of each part of the project, look at the finished measurement size and make sure that you are measuring to that, because that's really going to help you in the very end when you are now assembling this together. You want everything to line up as best as it can. And if you follow those finished measurements in between each of the steps, this assembly piece is going to be a breeze, because everything will be measured exactly where it needed to be. So take the time, I can't stress that enough, to take the time for each step and look at all of the finished measurements that they have and make sure that you're lining up to that. If you're not, go back. You've always got that seam ripper. Go back and go ahead and, you know, undo it and sew it again. Cindy says, does the pattern give pressing instructions for nesting? Pressing instructions, yes. Thanks for pointing that out. So what Fat Quarter does on each of these visuals, you can see these little tiny arrows that have, they're either pointing this way, that way, and you see where the arrows are. What that represents is where your seam allowance needs to go. And I'll give you a little bit more of a close-up for that. And you can see, I'll point it out here. So right on here, let's just take this step, for example. You've got all these little arrows, all facing this way. What that is telling you is after you have sewn it, when you go to press it with your iron, because you are pressing after every step here, you're going to be pressing your seam allowances to go this way. And then if you notice on the next step, you're going to be pressing your seam allowance to go the opposite way. And so why are we doing that? That's really important, because when you start to assemble your project together and you're starting to assemble row and row and row and row, you've got seam allowances going one way, seam allowances going the other way, and that's going to allow you to then lock your seams together when you make that, when you sew those two together. Oh, we've got a new gifted crafter. Well, thank you guys for becoming a member. Sean, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope you really enjoy all the content that's out there for members. And so, you know, I think it's really, really important that you take the time and really read through the instructions and understand what the designer is trying to tell you when you are looking at these patterns, because it's these little hints of information are so, so important. And so again, you've got your seam allowances going one way and seam allowances going the other way. And when you get to this step back here, where you're now starting to assemble your quilt, you're putting these rows together. Remember, one seam's going this way, one seam's going this way. And so you're locking your seams together. That's going to allow you to bump them up against each other. And then you'll be able to do that sewing all the way across, right? And so it will allow the seams to lock, so you'll have a nice straight stitch that you're going to be making here. And with your seams locking up, it's going to allow these to be placed exactly where they need to be. So it's really important to pay attention to your seam allowances and where they need to be pressed, right? So we're going to go ahead and under each step, you're going to be moving your iron, and you're going to be doing, just kind of following the pattern and making sure that your seam is getting pressed to the correct side. So make sure you pay attention to those little arrows there. And then once we've assembled this all together, it looks like we're going to be adding our borders here. Again, pay attention to these little arrows here, because they're telling you where to press your seams, right? And then once we've done that, you're pretty much done. That is the end. You're going to have your finished product here. You're going to add your additional outer border here, and you're going to be all done. And it's going to be a really quick project. So this one looks like a really nice beginner-friendly one, because the cutting is pretty simple. There's only 2 fabrics that you're going to be cutting. If you're using the charm packs, right, then you don't have to cut those. Those are already at 5 inches. Or if you're using it from your stash, then you know that you're going to need 68 of the 5-inch squares. So there's a little cutting that you'll have to do there. The rest of this is all background fabric. That is the next piece that you'll need to cut. And then you'll have the binding as well as the backing. And then all of the cutting directions are here. They tell you the quantity that you need along with the size. So when you're looking at this background size, again, all of these 5-inch, 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 and then you've got these sub-cutting to do. So I can cut a couple of 5-inch strips from my bolt, and then I can subcut down to these sizes right here. So pretty simple, easy pattern, really nice to kind of just go through it really quick and see what you have to do in order to get started. So what I'll be doing tonight is I'm going to go ahead and cut some 5-inch strips. Similar, I did cut one yesterday, and you can see my 5-inch strip is here. I did cut a 5-inch strip, and then I started to subcut. And so this strip right here, of course, here is my 5-inch squares that I was able to kind of get out of that pile. And then what do I have in terms of waste? This was the only piece of waste that I have, and this is on the fold, right? So I actually have opened this up and I'm going to iron it. There may be a small piece that I may need for that. So I'm just going to hold that off to the side just to see if I need any small pieces. So doesn't look like it's going to be too much waste on here because a lot of this was used up. Just note that when you are cutting off of the bolt, you want to start with that fold, right? Measure that fold, cut off your selvage, and then you're going to cut on the 5-inch, and then you're going to just subcut all the way down to get your squares. So one of the pretty early on fabrics, I believe this is fabric, what they call fabric G, you're going to need 12 5-inch squares of your background fabric. So yeah, we have the charm pack that we're using, but then you have to cut some of your background fabrics at 5-inch squares as well. So nice long ruler to do that when you're cutting off of the bolt. We've talked about rulers and how to, line things up and measure to make sure you're getting an accurate cut. So go ahead and use those tips, and you can also look at our prior videos where we shared all kinds of tips on the rulers, not slipping and things like that you can use. Okay, so yeah, we are towards the end of our hour, and I know we talked a lot about this pattern. I'm going to get to work tonight and do some cutting, and tomorrow we can start sewing away and doing some of these half square triangles together. And we'll talk about, you know, how to put these together, and I'll show you a couple of samples and we'll do some together. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, so I hope that you guys are able to download. It's a free pattern. Again, it's at the Fat Quarter Shop. You can do this along with me using some of the scraps in your sewing room. Now, before we go, we're going to go ahead and look at our inspirational quote of the day. Here it is. So today's quote of the day is, "Sewing early for the holidays gives peace, joy, and plenty of time to make it meaningful." So guys, we're in September, holidays are around the corner. Make this an enjoyable experience. Don't wait for the last minute, because you definitely want to enjoy that time. And we've got another crafter, Scrapping Like a Lady. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. Lots and lots of fun. I hope you enjoy all the content that's out there as well. Okay, guys, we're at the end of our hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys will download the Charming Christmas Quilt pattern and do this along with me. We're going to have tons of fun. We're going to start this off tomorrow. I'm going to get some cutting done tonight so we can get to sewing tomorrow. I hope you guys really enjoyed the content today. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter free. Hope your day is